What is up, you spooky bitches? We're back and we got another episode of the Hello Sidney podcast, a podcast for horror lovers where we discuss any and all things horror. And it's me, your girl, Sidney. How's everybody doing? What's everybody been up to? Happy Friday. If you're listening to this on a Friday, can you see me? You should be able to see me if you're watching on Spotify. We are continuing Clown Month today, and we are continuing Clown Month with the most brutal movie we are probably going to talk about. And I know that's quite a stretch to say considering we just covered Terrifier. And I say brutal, I guess more so in not necessarily brutal as much as like disturbing. And we're talking about Rob Zombie's 31 today. And Rob Zombie himself has said that this is his most brutal film that he's ever created. And that's saying a lot for him because he's made some pretty fucked up shit. And again, I don't think it's necessarily as brutal as Terrifier, but I think it is more disturbing than Terrifier in a way. I don't know. You guys will see. You'll be the final judges of it at the end. But I am going to give a heads up before this one, which again, I never really do. I think I probably did for Terrifier. But this movie is very brutal. It's visceral. You don't see any sexual assaults, but there is allusions and threats of sexual assaults. And I think like that's probably why I'm saying it's more disturbing to me, because Terrifier actually doesn't have any of that. But yeah, it's fucked up. But at the same time, I will admit, I very much enjoy this movie. I think it is gritty. I think it is terrifying because like the thought of being in this situation, and that's when horror gets really scary to me. Like when you can put yourself in the position of the person that is being attacked or that is being targeted, that's when it becomes downright terrifying. So when you put yourself in the position of the 5 people who are going to be involved in this game, it is utterly downright terrifying. So Rob Zombie strikes again with this one. And the main character in this one, or at least the main killer, is going to be played by Richard Brake. And this movie is single-handedly the reason why the sight of that man strikes fear into my soul. Immediately. I will literally see a picture of him like on Instagram, or I'll see him in a different movie and I'm immediately like, oh, I'm scared. Like he just scares the shit out of me. And I think it comes down to his character that he plays in this movie. And I think it really comes down to his opening monologue in this movie. So we're going to get right into it. So 31 came out in 2016, which happens to be at the time where the whole clown craze was going on. Do you guys remember that? There was just like clowns showing up in the woods and they were like harassing people and stalking people. It was a really terrifying time to be alive, or so we thought at the time. Honestly, in 2025, I'll take some clowns at this point. Like I can handle it compared to what else is going on. But people thought, and there's still speculation, that might have been marketing for this movie. I don't think that was true because this wasn't really like a big mainstream movie. I'm not even sure if this hit the theaters. I don't think it did because watching it, I don't think it could. So I don't think it was marketing, but it just happens to be at a very strange time. But this movie does have a 5.1 on IMDb, which kind of surprises me because I know that's 5.1 out of 10. But for a horror movie, and especially for a Rob Zombie horror movie that is this visceral, that's not too shabby. And the runtime of this movie is about 1 hour and 42 minutes. And again, I'm giving a fair warning for the fact that this movie is going to be graphic and obscene and offensive, okay? All of the things. But for those of you who want to stick around and hear about it, here we fucking go, baby. So we start with some grainy black and white home footage. And this movie is going to take place in the 70s. So it's this group traveling on a road trip and it's home footage of them. And it's just very 70s. And this was all shot by Rob Zombie on his iPhone. So that's why it looks so grainy at the time. And we cut from this like happy group, this happy almost montage. And we get this quote. And it says, "The first sign of the beginning of understanding is the wish to die." And that is a quote from Franz Kafka. And we then hear some like old timey music and we cut to this black and white shot. And this door opens. It's like a slider door. It looks like we're in a warehouse of some sort. And this tall, skinny, shirtless man walks in. And he's just immediately menacing. This is Richard Brake, okay? This is the character that I was talking about. So he's just incredibly menacing immediately. And he walks up to the camera and he gets directly into the camera and he almost looks into the camera and it's almost like he's looking into your soul. And his character's name is going to be known as Doomhead. And his face is painted with like white paint, but it's all cracked and bloody, and it looks like he's been through it. And even though it's black and white, you can tell when he smiles, his teeth are just like dirty and black. Like this man just looks like he hasn't showered in a year. And he looks directly into the camera, again, almost directly into your soul. And he delivers what I believe to be one of the most horrifying monologues of all time. So horrifying that I'm actually going to read it directly to you guys because I don't think it would have the same effect if I just simply explained it. So we don't see who he's talking to yet because, again, he's looking directly into the camera and it's almost like he's talking to us, but I assure you he is talking to somebody. But he starts his monologue and he says, "Hello, they call me Doomhead. Now, I don't call myself Doomhead, mind you, but they do. Who's they? Well, some mysterious folks that pay me a whole lot of scratch to do what I do. And what I do, unfortunately for you, I do real well. Now, let's get one thing between us straight. I ain't no fucking clown. Now, Mr. P.T. Barnum may claim clowns are the pegs on which this circus is hung, but I ain't no fucking clown. Now, you may think you see a grease-painted performer sitting before you who would usually elicit an amused response from an audience, but trust me, you do not. I am not here to make you happy. I am not here to brighten your dismal day. And I am certainly not here to elicit an amused response. I am here to end your miserable fucking life. But first," and he lights up a cigar and he starts smoking, so he pauses. "First, I'm going to bless you with a story. See, I don't think the last sound to puncture your eardrums should be the twang of your body falling apart. Snap! Ooh, crunch. Interesting fact. Did you know that a cockroach can live up to 168 hours without a head? I know. I find this fascinating. But what really blows my fucking marbles like a 50-cent skank, I mean the real mindfucker, is that for several more hours, this same decapitated head will keep trucking on for Jesus. If properly nourished, of course. You know, all in all, you've had a pretty good run, but deep down inside, you must have known it all had to end somewhere. Might as well be here. Might as well be now. And it might as well be with me." And now at this point, we've panned to the guy a couple times, and it turns out that it's a pastor. And we know that he's a pastor because he has a little like collar on with the white. And at this point, this guy asks him, "Where's my wife?" So his wife was with him too. Like, "What did you sick bastards do to my beautiful wife?" And she's the mother of our two beautiful girls, Rebecca, Josephine. And Doomhead says, and again, this is where we get the allusions to sexual assaults and just the hint that it is happening. Doomhead says, "Oh, I know where she is. Two little clowns I know took a fancy to her, so I think she might be sticking around for a bit, huh?" And at this point, the pastor starts to pray, which pisses Doomhead off. And he's like, "Christ almighty, you Jesus freaks are so fucking sensitive, huh? Shit, you should be thanking me, man. I'm sending you straight to the fucking pearly gates with a first class ticket." So they go back and forth for a little bit. We find out that the pastor's wife's name is Georgina. He's covered in blood. He's shaking, obviously. And eventually Doomhead pulls out this axe and he apologizes for not sharpening it. So it's a fucking dull axe. And he takes this thing and he whacks it at the fucking pastor full force, hits him in the side, which causes him to start kind of like convulsing. And then he hits him a second time, which is the final blow that kills him. And Doomhead just looks at him and turns around and walks the fuck out. Now, this is setting the scene to the fact that this movie is going to be absolutely fucking ruthless. The movie is not in black and white. This is the only sequence of the movie that is in black and white, but it was actually originally filmed in color. And I think it was so much more effective to put it in black and white. I think that is the best artistic choice that Rob Zombie could have made because it makes it so much more like gritty and just terrifying. Like it feels uncomfortable. It's unsettling to watch. And again, the fact that he's looking into the camera saying this, it's like he's speaking to you. Now, something that makes this scene even more unsettling than it already is that he barely blinks. He blinks, I think, 2 times throughout this whole monologue. He blinks 45 seconds in, and then he does not blink again for 61 seconds. So when I tell you he is staring into your soul, he is staring into your soul. So again, that just sets the stage for where the fuck are we going to go from here? And let me tell you, it's nowhere good. So we turn back to color and we get the opening credits. So we get a Rob Zombie film, 31, and we're getting this like projector film footage of, again, this group that we had seen before. One of the people in this group, of course, is Sherry Moon Zombie, Rob Zombie's wife, who is in all of his movies. And we cut, and it's October 31st, 1976. And now, yes, this is technically a Halloween movie. It does take place on Halloween. Why does it take place on Halloween, you ask? Well, that's because Rob Zombie found out statistically Halloween is the biggest day for people to go missing. I did not know that until I was reading about this. Halloween apparently statistically is the day that people go missing most often. So he was like, okay, well, we're going to work that in because spoiler alert, this is going to be about a group of people who gets kidnapped and goes missing. So anyway, it's October 31st, 1976, and this group is on a road trip. And our main group that we're going to get is Charlie, who is Sherry Moon Zombie's character. And we have Panda, who is Jamaican. He has this like really thick, great Jamaican accent, which was like a last minute artistic choice on the part of the actor who plays him, but I loved it. It's effective. And we have Roscoe, who is played by Jeff Daniel Phillips, who is in a lot of Rob Zombie movies, and we have Venus, and we also have Levon. And now Roscoe has this girl with him, Levon has this girl with him, and then we also have the van driver, the guy who's driving the van. His name is Randy, but if you can't tell, these last three aren't going to really be important. It's the main five, the first five that I mentioned, that are going to be the ones that we really follow. The girl that's with Roscoe is just like a fucking idiot. Like, she just keeps saying stupid shit, and Roscoe just gets mad at her and keeps yelling at her, but they're all shooting the shit, they're smoking, and Levon is in the bedroom with this woman that I said. I don't think we ever even get her name, but Roscoe goes in to like get a mask or something. They're all just fucking around. Like, you can tell they're just having a blast. They're on a road trip, and they pass a sign that says, "Prepare to meet thy mighty God," which I think is interesting here considering what's about to happen to them. And eventually they pull up to a gas station, and Charlie meets like the gas station attendant named Leo, who is just this like super crass, vulgar old man. And she sees these like circus puppets. There's like this display with these circus puppets on strings that are being mechanically moved, okay? And I know that sounds silly, but it's going to come up again later. So Roscoe is putting gas in the van, and this woman comes up to him, and it's this really tiny blonde woman. And it turns out this is going to be E.G. Daily, who is also known as the voice of Tommy Pickles. So if you close your eyes, it literally sounds like Tommy Pickles is in this movie, because she doesn't change her voice a whole lot for Tommy Pickles. So she comes up to him, and she's flirting with him a little bit, and she starts asking him like what they're doing, if they're going hunting, and which is kind of a weird fucking thing to ask. And he's like, no, like, we're not hunting, we don't have any firearms in this car, because she's kind of alluding at that, like, do you have any guns in the car? And he's saying, no, other than a busted shotgun, we have nothing. And she says, well, what if you get in a jam? And he's like, oh, well, I got these guns. It flexes like, you know, fucking men do. So they get back in the car and they keep driving, and eventually it gets to be nighttime. And as they're driving, they come across this part in the road that's blocked off, and they look up and they see that it's blocked off by these scarecrow type things. So Roscoe's like, what the fuck is that? So he and Panda and this girl that's with Roscoe, which we don't get her name either, I don't think, end up going out to like take these out of the road so they can keep on. But of course, as they go out there, it's a fucking trap. And all of these people, they look like burglars in these like white and black striped shirts, start attacking them. Now, they stab the girl that Roscoe is with, so she dies immediately. She's never in the game. She never even has a chance. She's just gone. And then they come into the van and they attack the rest of them. And they kill Randy, who is the driver. So again, R.I.P. Randy, you never even had a shot. And they attack everybody, grab everybody, and they get in the van, in the driver's seat, and they drive away. Now, I've heard that the group here in these white and black striped shirts are meant to look like the burglars in that scene from A Christmas Story. So that's kind of what this is like a tribute to. I'm not sure if that's true. I couldn't really find anything about it anywhere, but I did hear about that. So anyway, we cut to them driving away, and we see that somehow the woman that Levon was with is dead. We don't see her actually die, but she's dead. So now she's dead. The woman that Roscoe was with is dead. And Randy, the driver, is dead. So now it's just the five of them left. And we cut to a building and we see the five of them strung up in this big room. But it's not like a warehouse room. It's like this elaborate, fancy room. There's like candelabras everywhere and all of these elaborate decorations. And this man comes out and he's dressed in like this Victorian era clothing. He's got like that big white wig and his face is painted white. And this is actually going to be Malcolm McDowell, who's an icon, and he's in He's a Rob Zombie regular. He was in Halloween. He was Dr. Loomis. And these two women come out dressed similarly to him as well, with like big, like Marie Antoinette dresses, big white hair. And he tells them, we are going to play a game of 31. And he explains that 31 is war and war is hell. And the women chime in, are like, all you have to do is survive 12 hours inside of our private hell. And they start to give everybody their odds. So they say, like, player 1, who's Panda, your odds are 50-1. Venus, 500-1. Levon, 60-1. Charlie, 500-1. And Roscoe, 100-1. And they tell them that we have people here who are only here to kill you in the most violent way possible. And I can't even imagine having more fear than that, being strung up, knowing that there are going to be people straight up hunting you. And they introduce the first player, and his name is going to be Sickhead. And he's a little person. And he comes out dressed as Hitler. And this is where I say that this movie is incredibly offensive, okay? So he comes out, he's dressed as a clown Adolf Hitler, and he's shirtless, and he has these suspenders on, and he's painted white completely, and he has a swastika on his chest, and he has a painted on little like Hitler mustache, and his face is painted white like a clown, because again, all of the killers are going to be dressed like clowns, but like all a different kind of variation. So this one happens to be the Hitler variation. So he comes out to them and he starts speaking to them in Spanish. So I don't know what he says because it's not translated. And this was another last minute decision by Rob Zombie, because the actor who plays this guy he found out that he could speak Spanish and was like, oh, I want you to deliver all of your lines in Spanish. Like, I think that would be more effective. And it's almost more effective in kind of disorienting the audience, because again, there's no subtitles. So unless you speak Spanish, you don't know what he's saying. And he like goes up to the group, all 5 of them, and he starts pretty much threatening them, and he's kind of mocking them. And eventually the man, Malcolm McDowell, we never really get his name, but he's kind of like the leader of this whole thing. He says, 31 has begun. And we cut to this warehouse now, which is the warehouse that we were kind of in the beginning. We kind of get that impression. And all 5 of them wake up, and they're now completely separated. And a voiceover comes through, and it says, you now have 12 hours to play. So Venus wakes up and she grabs this weapon next to her. They all have like makeshift weapons next to them. Like Charlie has a bat. Venus has this like almost kind of like an Art the Clown type weapon, like in terms of being makeshift. And he's literally used this in movies before, if you listen to the Terrifier episode. But her weapon is like a table leg with like nails in it. So that's very Art the Clown-esque. And they all grab their weapons, and they're kind of sneaking around. And they can all just hear Sickhead laughing in the distance. This little like maniacal cackle. And Panda and Roscoe end up running into each other. They almost hit each other because they think they're the enemy, but they end up meeting up. And then we see Venus walking, and she's holding her weapon, but we see Sickhead walking not far behind her, and she doesn't see him. But then we cut back to Roscoe and Panda, and they go through this door, and they find this shrine of Hitler. Okay, so obviously this was created by Sickhead. And next to the shrine is 2 sheets, and these sheets are obviously covering something. And when they uncover these sheets, it's these 2 mutilated dead bodies, but it's not people that they know, it's just random. So they kind of are like super relieved, because they thought one of them was Charlie because they saw that she was blonde, but they end up being nobody, and they end up leaving. So now we cut to Levon, and we see Sickhead approaching him, and he has this like bunny head on. Like, I don't know where he got this, but he has like this bunny head on him, and he walks up to Levon, and he's talking to him through the gate. Like, there's a gate separating them, so Levon and him are kind of going back and forth, like threatening each other, and eventually Sickhead ends up walking away. So obviously this is just a game of cat and mouse for him at this point. So then we cut to Charlie, and we see that she wakes up in the bathroom, and she's hiding in there, and she hears Sickhead come in, and she hears him getting closer and closer and closer, and then all of a sudden it goes silent, and he pops up underneath the bathroom stall. So he's trying to attack her. She has a bat. She's swinging the bat frantically. He ends up rolling away, and he's laughing. The lights start to flicker, and she hears the door burst open, and it's actually Levon. He's come to rescue her and help her. So a fight ensues between Sickhead and Levon, and Sickhead manages to stab Levon in the back and in the shoulder repeatedly, at which point Charlie comes out and knocks this motherfucker out with the bat. And he is knocked out for a second, and she's like, I think I broke his fucking neck, because she whacks him. She gets him good. And she ends up helping Levon up because he's bleeding, obviously having been stabbed in the shoulder. And as she's doing that, Sickhead wakes up and he starts to corner both of them with the knife. So she starts to back up. Charlie starts to back up. She backs out of the bathroom. At this point, Levon, she put him back down. So she's backing up and she's swinging the bat at him. They're kind of taunting each other, like going back and forth in Spanish. And eventually he backs her up to a point where he closes the gate. So it was all planned. So he backs her out of the area, closes the gate. So now she's locked out and she can't help Levon. So the gate closes and he locks it, and we get a voiceover now saying you have 10 hours and 43 minutes. So this is all happening. Like, we're seeing it happen very quickly. So we see Sickhead go back in the bathroom to Levon, and he's approaching him, and Levon's trying to like swipe him away. And as he's looking at Levon, we just see him lunge at the camera. It's kind of like a POV shot, like where Levon, he lunges at the camera cuts. So we don't know Levon's fate yet. So now we cut back to Charlie and we see her hiding in this like closet area, but she has a grate type thing that she's closed in front of her. And we once again hear Sickhead, and he's coming specifically for her. And he told her once he closed the gate, like, once I go kill this guy, I'm coming for you, bitch. Like, you're next. So he finds her and she's locked behind this gate. So he's repeatedly trying to get in, and eventually Roscoe and Panda hear her screaming. So they start running for her, and Sickhead manages to get the door open, and he grabs her by the feet and starts to drag her out, and he pulls out his knife and he's about to go stab her when Venus shows up and takes her fucking nail table leg weapon and gets him in the fucking head with it, and he drops dead. Or he doesn't necessarily drop dead yet, but he falls to the ground, and he does wake up and he starts seizing and he's yelling, and Charlie gets on top of him and stabs him with his own weapon repeatedly, to the point where like he's dead already, and Venus tries to pull her off of him, but she gets back on top of him and just keeps stabbing him, and then picks up her bat and smashes him with it. So you don't actually see his body. You kind of just get a view of her like repeatedly stabbing, and then her with the bat. So you don't see the blood and gore in this part necessarily, but you know what's happening. So they end up all pulling Levon out of the bathroom. He is still clinging to life somehow, and they all meet up. So Panda and Roscoe find them, and Panda is holding Levon because the two of them are best friends, and eventually Levon dies in his arms. So Panda's crying, everybody's all distraught. So then we cut back to the three like Victorian style lead people, and they're talking about how, oh, the first kill came quickly this year, but the second one is the one that usually has all of the drama. And now it's at this point that I realized, and I think I've realized this before, that one of the women, because again, it's the man and then two women, one of these women is the voice of the godmother from Fairly Odd Parents, or not the godmother. I think it's the Cosmo's mother. She's the voice of one of those people on Fairly Odd Parents. And again, she does not change her voice whatsoever for that role. It's the same thing as E.G. Daily and fucking Tommy Pickles. Like, so you're just hearing these cartoon characters in this vicious, brutal, graphic ass movie. And it kind of makes it a little funny. So now we cut back and we see the four of them, because again, it's the four of them left. So Charlie, Roscoe, Panda, and Venus. And they approach this table, and this table is set up pretty elaborately with food. And it's like this buffet, this beautiful smorgasbord of food. And Panda's like, well, we're not going to be able to beat these people on an empty stomach, so I'm going to eat. And they kind of go back and forth, because the girls especially are like, how do we know this isn't poisoned? Like, why we don't eat this? But eventually Panda eats it, and Roscoe follows him too. And they look up and they're like, Charlie, what's going on inside your head? And Charlie's like, we need better weapons than this. Like, we need to fucking fight these people. And Roscoe brings up, do you remember the church group who went missing like a little while back? And they found that pastor rotting in the dumpster. And now it's never confirmed, but obviously we get the idea that he's talking about the pastor from the beginning in the church group. So he was with the church group, and they all ended up in the grips of this game. So they all ended up playing 31. So at this point, Roscoe and Panda are still eating, and Charlie looks down at the table and she's like, whoa, wait a second. And she rips the tablecloth off, and underneath it, it's a glass table, and inside the table is Levon's mutilated body. And it's at this point that they realize that he is the food. He's the food that they're eating. They're eating their friend. So we cut to Roscoe throwing up. Panda looks all sorts of fucked up. And apparently this idea was pulled from a Shakespeare novel or a Shakespeare play of some sort. It's called Titus Andronicus, and apparently they feed steak and kidney pies to people, and that's kind of the idea that they're doing here, in that they're feeding literal kidney pies of their friend to these people. So they just ate and cannibalized their friend unknowingly. Yay. So then they get the voiceover again, and they recalculate the odds every so often. So they say Panda's odds are still 50-1, Roscoe's are 90-1, Venus is 300-1, and Charlie is 400-1. And after they do this, the circus music starts playing. So circus music starts, and the voiceover says we have 9 hours left, and I would like to introduce to you Psycho Head and his brother Schizo Head. And these two clowns come out revving their fucking chainsaws. And these guys look like the dirtiest motherfuckers you've ever seen in your whole life. Like when I said Doomhead looks like he didn't shower for a year, these guys look like they've never showered in their fucking life. Like you can just tell by looking at them that they are radiating an odor that you've never wanted to smell in your whole life. Like they're fucking gross looking. And these are like the realest clowns that we're going to get in the whole thing. Like they have like the wigs, like green hair, and they just look fucking gross. So the clowns address everybody and basically are saying how they're going to kill them. And they say specifically to the ladies in a very vulgar way that I'm not even going to repeat exactly what they say, how they're going to sexually assault them. They tell them how they're going to do it. And we get another voiceover now saying they have 8 hours and 12 minutes left because the clowns go away and the group carries on. Because again, like the whole point of this is it's like cat and mouse. So they're not just going to go for them right there and kill them. Like they want to chase them. They want to make them suffer and make them scared. So the group moves on and they end up stopping for a second and they kind of take a vote as to what they're supposed to do. Because Venus is like, I think we should hold up and find a hiding place until this is over. And it's really Roscoe or Panda and Charlie that are like, no, I want to fight. And Charlie says, I say we hunt them down and slit their fucking throats. And everybody's like, yes, ma'am. Okay. So eventually they get to this doorway, and above the doorway and in the hallway, it says the wet kitty. And it's just like an obscene door. It's made to look like a woman's vagina is the door. So they end up going through this door and they end up in a circus tent. So they get into the circus tent and they start to hear like moaning as if somebody's in pain. And they look down and they see this doll tied to a mattress. And they very quickly realize that it's not a doll. It's a woman that is disguised to look like a doll with this like sheet type thing over her with like a face drawn on it. And they take this sheet off of her and it's a naked woman. She's dirty, she's bloody, she's beaten, and she introduces herself as Georgina. So this is the pastor's wife that he had asked about in the opening monologue. And now Venus is trying to help her, and the others are skeptical because they're like, this is a lure, like she's part of it, she's probably working with them, like don't let her out. And eventually she tells them, no, please, like I know a way out, I heard them talking. And as she's saying this, they start to hear the chainsaws in the distance, so they know that these two fucking psychos are coming for them. So Charlie and Panda run and they try to close this door, and they close the door, they try to block it, they break off a pipe to put in the door to lock it, and Venus and Roscoe stay behind and are untying Georgina, and the wires are literally in her skin. Like there's wires around her wrists and it's in her skin, and she's screaming at this point saying rip it out, because she just doesn't want to be fucking tied up anymore, and I don't blame the poor girl. So again, Panda and Charlie are outside of this little circus tent area, and all of a sudden this gate drops and the whole thing's a fucking cage. And Roscoe was like, I knew it, like she was a lure to get us in here, and now we're fucking trapped. So Roscoe and Venus are stuck inside of the circus tent, which again is a cage, and Panda and Charlie are stuck outside. And now one of the brothers approaches Panda and Charlie and starts attacking them with the fucking chainsaw. If I have one of these clowns coming at me with a chainsaw, honestly, like again, I always say I like to think I would put up a good fight, but you see one of these dirty motherfuckers coming at you with a whole ass chainsaw, like, and you just have this like makeshift weapon that's probably going to snap in half. I don't know if I would survive this. So Panda and Charlie get into a fight with this one guy. They're fighting him off. Like Charlie still has her bat that she's using. And then all of a sudden inside of the cage, the other clown rises from underneath this hay. So he's been in there the whole fucking time. And he takes his chainsaw and goes up to Georgina and just eviscerates her. He just looks at her and he's like, "Hi, do you miss me?" And he just takes the chainsaw and just sticks it through her and just eviscerates this woman. Like, she is dead. Like, there is no surviving that. So once she's killed, he then turns to Roscoe and starts fighting him. So now we're kind of seeing both fights happen simultaneously. So we're seeing the Panda and Charlie versus the Schizo Head fight, and the Roscoe and Venus versus the Psycho Head fight. So Schizo Head gets Panda in the side, like he cuts him in the side, and then Roscoe is beating the other guy. Panda manages to fight off the other guy. Venus stabs their clown in the side. It's like chaos. It's going back and forth. It's very quick, and there's just a lot going on. And eventually, Psycho Head, the one that they're fighting off, grabs Venus, and Roscoe hits him, which causes him to drop his chainsaw. So he drops his chainsaw onto the ground, and they see their opportunity, and Venus pushes this clown, Psycho Head, on top of the chainsaw and then gets on top of him and holds him down as this chainsaw saws through him. He gets killed with his own weapon as he's screaming bloody fucking murder, and eventually he fucking dies. Now, the other fight, Charlie beats the other guy from behind with her bat, and eventually they manage to get his chainsaw from him somehow, or get it away from him. And he's on the floor on his knees, and he starts crying like a little fucking bitch boy that he is. And he's like, "I don't want to be here. They're making me be here. I'm just like you guys. Like, please, please." And Panda looks at him and just goes, "Okay, brother," and takes his own fucking chainsaw and decapitates him with it. Panda does not give a fuck about you crying and pleading on your fucking knees, bitch. So up until now, everybody's been killed with their own weapons, because even Sickhead, he got stabbed by Charlie eventually. So he obviously got attacked by Venus first, but then the final blow was the stabbing that Charlie did to him, and that was with his own daggers. And now these two just got killed with their own chainsaws. And now at least they have a chainsaw because they can take this guy's. So the group ends up getting together. They open the gate, and Roscoe is cut pretty bad on the arm and on the leg from his altercation. So he's bleeding pretty good. Panda's cut in the side too. So they're all kind of, they're taking it. They've taken it. And they see that the other chainsaw is snapped, but now they have one chainsaw. At least that's better than these fucking like ghetto ass weapons that they've had. And a voiceover comes up and says that they have 7 hours and 3 minutes, and they recalculate the odds. And it turns out that they're all betting on the odds. So that's kind of the whole point of this game, is that these three leaders that are doing this are all obviously super rich, and they're betting on these people. So they kind of recalculate the odds, and everybody's aren't, like, they're not too different with the exception of Roscoe's, because they give him now the odds of 1 million to 1. And Charlie, we see like wrapping his arm and wrapping his leg to try and stop the bleeding. And then the voiceover, as they're saying this, they say sex and death are on their way. And then we start to hear singing, and it's these two voices singing in German. And one of the voices singing is Tommy fucking Pickles. This bitch was in on it. So that's why she was asking him, like, do you guys have guns in the car? Because they were trying to see what they were about to go up against. So she shows up, and she shows up with this tall, blonde dude, and I don't remember this guy's name, but this actor, I looked it up, he is 6'9", and E.G. Daily is tiny. She's like 5 feet, so like the height difference here, it looks like almost surreal. Like, it just looks so strange. And this is going to be Sex Head and Death Head. So E.G. Daily, the girl, is Sex Head, and this guy is Death Head. So they hear them singing, and the group at this point, they've had a fuck enough. So they leave Roscoe behind, or not behind. They kind of hide him. They're like, wait here, we're going to go take care of this, because he's obviously not doing well. He's bleeding out. And the group makes a plan and to create a distraction with these two. Like, okay, you go around back, you'll get this one, I'll stay and get this one, blah, blah, blah. And they go, and they leave Roscoe. But Roscoe very shortly realizes, fuck this, I'm not going to sit here and fucking die. So he gets up and he goes to help. So Charlie manages to distract Death Head, this fucking tall guy, which, by the way, if I am face to face with a 6'9" guy with his weapon is kind of similar to Venus's, with the table leg with the nails on it, just more like a little bit more sophisticated and not as like makeshift as hers is, but it's basically like a mace. Is that what those things are called? Like I don't know. You can beat the shit out of somebody with it. So Charlie distracts Death Head, and Panda comes up behind him, but Sex Head yells and alerts him. So he turns and he starts to fight Panda. He corners him, and the two of them start to fight. And then Venus comes out with the chainsaw, and Charlie comes out with her weapons too. So we see that fight ensue. So it's kind of 3 of them against Death Head. And then we go back to Roscoe and we see him walking, and we see Sex Head walking behind him. And he doesn't hear her until she says, "Hi." Like, just like that. "Hi." Like this little high pitched voice, this Tommy Pickles ass voice. And he turns around and she whacks him. He falls, and she makes reference to what she said to him at the gas station. So of course he realizes, like, this is that bitch from the fucking gas station, and he manages to hit her, and he says, "I remember you." And she pulls out a knife and she stabs him. She stabs him twice, and then she goes to stab him again, but he manages, I don't know how at this point, because my man's going through it, like, my poor dude, and he manages to grab her hand before she can stab him a third time, and he fights her off. And at the same time, again, simultaneously, we're seeing the other 3 fight off Death Head. So he manages to hold her off for a second, but ultimately she is able to stab Roscoe again, and she's stabbing him until Charlie shows up behind her and grabs her from the fucking throat and drags her away. Mind you, Sherry Moon Zombie is a tall woman. She's like 5'10" or 5'11", I think, in real life. And again, E.G. Daily is very tiny, which is also why I find it funny that the Sickhead got the best of them. I just looked it up. It says that he's 4'6", but I don't feel like that's accurate. He looks smaller than that. Like, he looks like Peter Dinklage, and I don't think Peter Dinklage is that tall. Oh, I guess Peter Dinklage is 4'5". I guess I just have no perception of height. But either way, Sherry Moon Zombie is over a foot taller than this dude, regardless of what his height is. I have the weirdest height perception in the world, guys. I am 5'5", and I think I'm the tallest person ever. And it's because growing up, my best friend, now at my age, at 29, fully grown, is a 4'9" human, and her whole family is under 4 feet. Her dad's 5'2". The tallest in the family at 5'2". So I always went to their house and just felt like a fucking giant. So I think I'm so tall. I have this really distorted height perception. So I look at people and I'm like, no, there's no way that I'm only a foot taller than that man. So Charlie grabs this bitch from behind and drags her away. Meanwhile, we see Death Head going toe-to-toe with Panda and Venus still. And Death Head manages to get Panda in the stomach with that mace type weapon he has twice. So he gets him right in the stomach, and then Venus calls for him, and she goes to start the chainsaw, but the chainsaw's fucking dead. Of course it is, right? So he's coming towards Venus, and you're like, fuck, now she doesn't have a weapon. But then all of a sudden we hear Charlie, and she shouts out, and she's like, "Hey," and she drags out Sex Head by the fucking throat, and she has a knife to her throat. And Death Head drops his weapon, and he starts begging. He's like, "Please, no, don't hurt her." And they're screaming and crying, both of them towards each other, which is funny because you're here to be fucking killers. Isn't this kind of part of the game? You have to expect this could happen. So Death Head drops his weapon as he's begging for Sex Head's life. He's like, "Please don't kill her." Venus picks up his weapon and hits him with it in the leg, which causes him to drop to his knees. So he falls, he's looking, he's crying, she's crying, Sex Head is crying, and Venus gets him in the head with it. She whacks him in the head with it, which doesn't kill him yet, but he does fall to the ground. And during this whole thing, Panda, we see him bleed out and die in the background. So Panda has now died, and Venus looks at Charlie, and she's morally conflicted still for some reason about this whole thing, and she says, "We can't." And Charlie just goes, "Do it." So Venus agrees, and she grabs the weapon, and she delivers the final blow to Death Head and gets him in the head, and fucking his head explodes with this. She kills him. And she looks at Charlie and is like, "What do you want to do with her?" And Charlie just looks at Venus, and she looks at Sex Head, and she takes the knife and just slits her throat, and she fucking bleeds out and dies. That's it. Charlie's ruthless in this. Which again, I don't fucking blame her. These people are trying to kill you. Obviously, you got to do what you got to do. So they've now killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the killers that have tried to kill them. So 5 people have killed 5 people. And we cut back to the group, the main group, the man and the 2 women. And you can tell they're getting a little nervous. And they're starting to talk about next steps, who do we call? And they kind of throw out some names, and they're like, "No, I don't think he'd be good. No." And Malcolm McDowell's character just goes, "I think we only have one logical choice." And we cut to Doomhead, who we haven't seen since the opening. And he is viciously having sex with this woman, and it is consensual because she doesn't want him to leave once he gets his phone call. It is consensual, but he is viciously having sex with this woman, and it looks again just the most it looks like you're going to catch a disease just by walking into this room that they're in, and it just makes you feel fucking slimy and dirty. This scene is gross. It's just I don't mind sex scenes, it is what it is, but this scene is just foul. It just makes you feel gross. So the group says Doomhead is the only logical way to go with this, and the group all agrees. So they end up calling him, and he answers the phone, and the woman that he's banging is like, don't answer the phone, come on, like, let's fucking finish this. And he answers the phone, and we don't hear what they say, but we hear him saying, I wasn't planning on working this year, working as in murdering. And he's like, oh, you'll double last year's fee? I'll be right there. So he hangs up the phone and he goes to get ready, and he gets up, and this woman is like, what the fuck? Like, you're leaving? And he like berates her because he's a fucking psychopath, obviously, and like is a shit human. So he like berates her, and the two of them go back and forth, but ultimately he ends up leaving. So Doomhead is on his way, which is not good for anybody. So we cut back to the group, and again, Panda has died, and we see Venus and Charlie, and Roscoe is still barely clinging on to life, but he is alive. And they sit in this warehouse, and it's California Dreamin'. And Charlie is just like, I love this song, which is just so sad. Like, you know, you're probably about to die and you're hearing this song for the last time. It's kind of fucked up. So then we cut and we see Doomhead being brought down, and he's almost being brought down like with the posse, with an entourage. Like, this guy is like a fucking celebrity here. And he is told that they have 4 hours and 37 minutes. And he smiles and goes, I can kill your whole family in that amount of time. Sir, please come nowhere near me. And he ends up going into this room to get ready, and he does his clown makeup. He cakes his face in this white makeup, and it's all like cracked and caked on again. Like, it just looks like he's been through it and he just put it on type thing. I don't know. And he starts looking at himself in the mirror, and I love this scene too, because this again makes me fucking terrified of him. He starts saying to himself, I'm not crazy, I'm in control. I'm not crazy, I'm in control. And he starts saying it repeatedly, and he gets more and more aggressive and angry with it, until eventually he works himself up to the point where he starts punching himself in the face repeatedly. And you can hear, like, you see it from the back, so you don't actually see him getting himself, but you can tell from the back that he's punching himself in the face. And when he comes out, he has this blood all down the front of his face, and like you can hear his flesh squelching as he's punching himself. It's fucking gross, and this guy obviously is incredibly unstable, and I would not want to be anywhere near this motherfucker. Like, he strikes fear into my soul. So he comes out all bloody, and he just smiles into the camera, and you're like, oh, shit's about to go down. He's about to fuck everybody's day. So Venus wakes up, and the clown from earlier, like the two brother clowns, are on top of her, and one has a hand on her mouth, and he's like, we aren't human around here. And she looks up, and they see the other clown holding Charlie, who is unconscious, and then the other clown stabs Venus, and she wakes up crying. It's just a dream. And I'm glad it's just a dream, because at this point I'm like, don't tell me they're going to add some supernatural shit in here and these people are going to be coming back to life. But they don't. It was just a dream. These people are actually dead. So she wakes up panicking, and Roscoe like kind of comforts her, and she looks around and she asks, where's Charlie? And he says, oh, she went to go look for something, like for an exit or something. And Venus gets pissed because she's like, how did you let her go off on her own? And she goes to look for her. Which either way, like, she's on her own, or you're going to leave Roscoe here on his own, and he's fucking dying. And regardless, they're all split up now, and we see Doomhead walk in. So this is the worst possible time that they could be split up. So we go back to the three leaders, the three weirdos, and they're talking about what is the protocol if we have a survivor, because that's never happened before. And Malcolm McDowell's character is like, I assure you, Doomhead has never failed. And the women are like, well, that wasn't the question. And he just kind of skirts around it, and he's just like, make sure your final wagers are in order. And he wagers $5 million. So these people aren't playing with like everyday fucking money. He wagers $5 million. And then one of the women is like, okay, I'm out. And the other woman goes, okay, well, I'll double it. These motherfuckers are wagering $10 million on people's lives. This is insane. So imagine how much they're paying like the actual killers to do their job and risk their lives. Unfucking real. So we cut back to the warehouse, and we see Charlie walking around, and Doomhead is now there as well. He's walking around. He hasn't spotted any of them yet. And we cut to Venus, and she's looking for Charlie. And as she's looking for Charlie, we see a door close behind her and lock, the door that she just came through. And it doesn't close aggressively, so she doesn't even hear it. Door closes and locks, and sure enough, Doomhead approaches her quietly from behind. She doesn't even hear him, and she doesn't even know he's there until he stabs her in the back. And he turns her to face him, and he says, I came to get down and dirty. Which, like, I would have a heart attack if this guy was in my face. Like, he's fucking scary. Not a lot scares me, but I truly mean it when I say Richard Brake, and especially this character, strikes fear into my soul, downright terror. And he again starts to kind of, because he can't just kill you. He's got to give like this monologue before he kills you. That's part of his game. And Venus is just begging him to let them live. And he almost gets mad and he's like, what is it about me that makes it look like I'd spare them? And he fucking stabs her again. Like, this guy is ruthless, no remorse, no soul, no human emotion, completely void. And he says to her, hope is an illusion. And he stabs her again. And this time he stabs her in the stomach and slides the knife up and fucking twists it. Goodbye. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, there's so many bad ways to go, but like having like being completely gutted like that by this fucking psycho, no way. Hell no. That's in my top, like, I would not want to die ways. So eventually we see Charlie. She's completely unaware that this is happening, and she ends up going back to Roscoe, and he's like, did you see Venus? And it's at this point they realize that Venus is nowhere to be found. And it's announced that they have 3 hours and 4 minutes. So time is dwindling. Clock is ticking, and eventually Charlie and Roscoe get up and they walk around, and they do find Venus's body mutilated. It's strung up almost like she's being crucified, and she's completely mutilated, and they hear Doomhead clapping. And they look up and they see him like on this little balcony, and he starts giving them a speech, and he's like, I'm a fair man in war. Because again, 31 is war. And I'll give you a moment of peace with your fallen comrade. And so you know, the doors to the outside world are officially open. And he walks away. So again, it's all about the cat and mouse here. So he's not going to kill them immediately. And he gives them a moment with Venus, and they immediately start trying to make their plan. And they're like, okay, doors to the outside world. What does that mean? So they end up they find this door and they get outside. And that's what he meant. And they get out to this like roof area. But eventually they're walking down it, and it's a dead end. And now at this point, Charlie is like completely supporting Roscoe because he's been stabbed like 1,000,001 fucking times. He's bleeding out. And they get to this like little opening in the ground, and they open it, and Roscoe looks down and he's like, it's your best chance. And Charlie's like, what do you mean it's my best chance? And then all of a sudden Doomhead shows up, and he starts slowly approaching, and he doesn't run. He just slowly walks towards them. And he's like, he was wearing a coat at this point. He starts to take his coat off, and he's shirtless. And there's something about him being shirtless that is even fucking scarier, because again, Richard Brake is just so like tall and skinny and lanky. It's almost like inhuman. So Roscoe and Charlie are arguing because Roscoe's basically like, look at me, like, I'm fucking dead. You need to go down. I'll hold him off as long as I possibly can. And they're arguing as he's literally pushing Charlie down the tunnel pretty much. And his last words to her, which is sad but also hilarious, is, you stupid bitch, get down there. And he fucking pushes her and shuts the door. So Roscoe looks up and he says, at least I get to die in the fresh air. So he knows he's gone. And Doomhead again takes his coat off, and he's shirtless, and he pulls out these 2 knives. And again, up until this point, we've just seen him walking, but at this point he runs at Roscoe, which is even like, that opens a whole nother door as to how scary this man is. Like, he's scary when he's slow walking, but this man lunging at you and running at you with these 2 knives, I would die before he even got to me. I would simply pass away and drop dead if this man ever ran at me. Like, I'm so scared of him, but I love him. Like, if I met Richard Brake in real life, I'd be like, oh my God, this is so cool. But I'm also scared. Please don't kill me. And like, I think that speaks to how good he does in as characters like this, because this one character has made me perpetually terrified of this man for my whole life. Like, it's never gone away. Every time I see him in something, even if he doesn't play the villain, which he kind of always is a villain, but like, he's in Halloween 2 and he's not necessarily a villain, but he's still fucking scary. Don't care. He's still scary to me. So he makes a run for it at Roscoe. Roscoe tries his best to swing, but again, this dude is basically near death, and it's very easy for Doomhead to just overpower him, and he stabs him repeatedly and walks away. And as he walks away, Roscoe is still somehow clinging onto life and still trying to help his friend, so he grabs Doomhead to delay him another second, and he very quickly kicks him off, and Roscoe dies. R.I.P., a true friend. So now we cut back to Charlie, and she comes out through the other end of that tunnel that she just went into, and she somehow manages to get outside. This leads her to go outside, and she's in this tunnel, and she follows it, and all of a sudden it's light out. She's outside and it's light out, and this is the first time you see her in the light. She is caked in blood. She's been through it, babe. She has been through it. She's caked in blood, and she starts walking down the street, and she sees this house. So she finds this house, she goes into the house, and she sees this circus puppet display. So the same one that was at the fucking gas station. And it's never confirmed, but that does make me believe that the gas station is connected, and especially because of the fact that E.G. Daily, aka Sexhead, was also at the gas station, and it's almost like that's where they vet their players. I say players because obviously the whole point is this is a game of 31, but you can also call them victims. This is where they vet their victims, is at this gas station. And the circus puppets obviously has a connection with the fact that all the killers are dressed as clowns. So she sees this circus puppet display and she goes up to it and she realizes that it's the same as the gas station, and she seems kind of stunned, and she has her bat still and she drops it at this point, which, like, girl, this is not the point to fucking leave your weapon behind. But she drops the bat, and sure enough, Doomhead comes in behind her and knocks her out, and she falls to the ground. So she falls to the ground in front of this little circus puppet display, and Doomhead once again lights a cigar, as he did earlier, and he gets in Charlie's face and he gives her a speech, because again, he's never just gonna fucking kill you. And he gives her like this quote and he says, "Do you know who said that?" And he wants her to guess. And Charlie just like spits out a bunch of blood and she goes, "Do you really think I give a fuck?" Like, Charlie's a fucking badass bitch. Like, she cannot be fucking threatened. I mean, she can, because he's obviously threatening her in her face, but she, even in death, about to be murdered, is like, "I do not give a fuck, my guy. Like, fuck you." And he goes to her, "I want you to look into the eyes of a true champion." And he looks her dead in the eyes as he starts to strangle the life out of her. But then just before she's about to like go unconscious, he stops. So again, he's playing a fucking game at this point because he's a sadistic motherfucker and he enjoys it. And he pulls out a knife and he's doing all these theatrics. Like, this is like a 5-minute scene of him like giving a speech, the strangling, theatrics with the knife and all that shit. And he finally goes, "It's time to die." And he's about to stab her when a voice comes over. A voice comes from above and says, "Weapons down. 31 is over. The clock has fucking ran out in the nick of time." And he screams. He's pissed. He can't believe this just happened to him. He's like, "Motherfucker." He's screaming, which again, terrifying when he does that. Terrifying when he fucking does anything. But he's scary when he screams because like there's like spittle coming from his mouth and shit. He's just like so animalistic and aggressive. So he screams and the voice again says 31 has come to an end. So Doomhead, being a fair player at this point, walks the fuck out of the house, having been defeated, and Charlie just lays on the ground, having survived. She fucking lived. So we cut back to the 3 leaders and they're like, the unthinkable has happened because we have a winner. We have a winner of 31. We've never had that before. And they ask, "What will you do with her?" And the man says, Malcolm McDowell's character says, "I'll have to get back to you on that one." So they still don't even know what they're going to do with Charlie. And they go home. We see them getting out of their costumes, putting on regular clothes, and they all just leave as if nothing fucking happened and they didn't just bet $10 million on somebody's life and brutally kill a bunch of other people. So the final scene that we see during this movie is Charlie walking down this road, bloodied, disoriented. She's got blood like caked into her hair. Again, my girl has fucking been through it. She's disoriented. She's kind of stumbling down this like long abandoned dirt road, and there's no cars coming in any direction, nobody there to save her, and suddenly a van pulls up behind her and it slowly starts to follow her, and we can hear from this van "Dream On" by Aerosmith is playing. And as the van gets closer, the music gets louder, and suddenly the van stops, and out of the van pops Doomhead. He's still shirtless, he's still bloodied, he still has like his white clown makeup on, and he starts to walk after her. And she doesn't even turn around at this point. And he actually gets basically right up to her and just stands directly behind her. She stops walking, and eventually she slowly turns around. And now the song starts to get louder, so we don't hear anything. That they don't say anything, but we don't hear them. We just hear the song "Dream On" playing. And eventually Charlie turns around, and as she turns around, the chorus of "Dream On" starts to play. And we see her slowly ball her hand into a fist by her side. And Doomhead sees this and he smiles, and he's got blood again, like all down his face, all in his teeth. And he pulls out these 2 knives and he smiles at her. This big toothy ass, freaky ass, bloody smile. And as he does that, it's perfectly timed with the moment in "Dream On" where Steven Tyler is screaming "Dream On." So we're watching this whole thing unfold where Steven Tyler is screaming "Dream On," which is perfectly timed if you ask me. And the two of them just stare at each other and we don't ever find out what happens because it cuts and we cut to those home videos of the five of them and of the group, and they're all playing and having a great time, thinking this is going to be a great road trip, not knowing they're all about to fucking die brutally at the hands of these psychos. And the movie ends. That's it. And Dream On continues to play as the credits roll. I don't hate the ending of this movie because I know some people might not like the ambiguity of it. I don't mind an ambiguous ending because it kind of lets you fill in the blanks. Like personally, I like to think that there's a final showdown and that Charlie survives. Like Charlie is the one to just finally fucking kill this insane sadistic man. I like to think that she's the one to do it. And I really love the fact that she's the one that started out with the worst odds of survival, and she's the one that ended up like really showing up and being a badass and making it to the end. So I love that. I also love the fact that this is one of Rob Zombie's only movies that his wife is in, which she's in all of them, that she does not play a villain. So, I mean, I guess she technically doesn't play a villain in Halloween because she's the mother, but like the second Halloween with the supernatural shit kind of makes her a villain, but she's the victim in this one, and she's very rarely a victim. I mean, I guess The Lords of Salem, kind of, but I also just hate that movie. But like, I'm used to seeing her as baby Firefly. Like, people are scared of her, and in this one, the tables are turned, and she becomes the victim in this one. So I think that's just an interesting role to see her in because we don't really see her in that in Rob Zombie's movies. I should also correct myself because at the beginning I said how Rob Zombie filmed this on his phone. Not the whole movie. I just meant by that he filmed like the home video parts on his phone, which is why it's so like gritty and grainy looking. And Rob Zombie, this is the first movie since House of a Thousand Corpses where he actually did all the music for this movie as well, because if you don't know, Rob Zombie also is a music. He has a band. He does music. So he actually wrote all the music for this movie as well, other than Dream On, of course. And Dream On, adding that into the final sequence was Sherry Moon's idea. And I think it was absolutely brilliant. And it makes that scene way more effective because you're just watching this showdown between the two and no words are being said, but like no words need to be said, you know? And the fact that that song is playing kind of makes it that way. Like that song does all it needs to do in that scene. We don't need words. Now, Sherry Moon Zombie apparently during filming this movie was also in the midst of quitting smoking. So she was also just going through like nicotine withdrawals, which made her completely miserable. And she said it actually kind of worked for her because it contributed to the misery and just utmost despair of her character. Now, the final thing I like about this movie that I will point out is every single killer is killed with their own weapon. So it's almost like this kind of poetic justice in that you're getting paid to go in and kill these random people that we picked up from the gas station, and we found them and we hunted them down. And now the tables are going to turn and you are going to be killed with the very weapon that you attempted to kill them with. And I fucking love that. And that's why I believe that at the end of this movie, Sherry Moon Zombie, or Charlie, somehow gets Doomhead's knives and kills him with them. Like, I think he is going to be part of that as well. I at least like to think that because, again, I usually like a really sad and awful and like really like numbing ending, bleak endings, but I really want her to survive in this. Like, she was the fucking underdog, and I truly believe that there was a showdown and she managed to kill him with his own weapons as they did everybody else in this movie, all the other villains. So there you have it, guys. That's 31. I get why this movie is not for everybody. I get why people would not like this movie. I get why people would not even want to watch this movie. Totally understandable. Personally, again, I do like this movie because I like the aspect of a cat and mouse chase. I think it's downright fucking terrifying because, again, putting myself in the position of like Charlie or of Venus or of the women in this movie in general is what scares me. Like, that shit is fucking terrifying. And again, like, I think the main reason I like this movie is, even though he scares me to my fucking core, I think Doomhead is such an iconic character, and Richard Brake does not get enough attention and love for how good of a fucking actor he is. To be able to affect people the way that he affected me with his one role in this movie speaks to his talent. So shout out to Richard Brake. Richard Brake, if you're listening, you scare the shit out of me, but I fucking love you. So I hope you guys liked today's episode. I hope you liked hearing about this movie. If you want to watch it, I think it's on Tubi. If you don't want to watch it, again, totally understand. But You guys know where to find me. Till next time on Wednesday, we'll be putting out an episode on It 2017 and It Chapter 2, and we're going to finish up the It series. And then I am going to do a final bonus episode 2 weeks from today, from Friday, and that's going to be on a movie called Amusement. And Amusement is a very underrated 2000s core horror movie, and it has a very terrifying clown in it. So we're going to talk about Amusement in our next video episode. But until then, you guys know where to find me. It's horror_chronicles on TikTok and Instagram. I am fucking hoping to God that TikTok still exists by the time you guys hear this, because I'm filming this on Wednesday, January 16th, and we still have no answer if like the Supreme Court is doing anything about it. So who the fuck knows? I'm kind of in a state of just like dissociation. So we will see. But until then, regardless, follow me, Instagram, YouTube. All my links are in my bio and in my link tree, so you guys will see it. And until then, watch more horror movies and stay spooky, my friends.